So, welcome to the live. All right. Now that I got that out of the way, welcome to the live. Mr. Nightmare released a Valentine's video, so we're gonna watch it because it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. All right.
I've been dating my girlfriend for 3 years now.
I'm so sorry.
Nikki. It started innocently enough that I commented on one of her Instagram stories and we started chatting from there. Eventually I got her number
Where are
and
my
on
cigarette
Snapchat,
things?
and after a week we met in person. We started hanging out right after the holidays in January, and the thought of Valentine's Day was already coming up. It was nice having started talking to a girl around that time so that I wouldn't feel the dread of being alone on that annoying holiday. But as
Let me just say, I'm alone. It's Valentine's Day, and I'm happier than I've ever been. You don't need a bitch. I mean, like, no one needs a fucking girlfriend. No one needs a relationship. Like, if you truly need a relationship, that's sad. You need to be, you know, working on being independent. Anyway, I'm really high, by the way.
Valentine's Day approached, and Nikki and I were a few dates in. She confided in me about a stalker situation she'd been dealing with. The man's name is Ben, and he's a guy a few years older than Nikki who happened to go to the same commuter college as her, met her in class for a group project, and followed her around campus a few times. She never involved police or anything, shockingly. Hearing that this guy found out where she lived, sent her a bunch of creepy texts which she ignored. She said she never blocked the number because she wanted to see how far he would go without getting the hints. When I gauged why she was choosing now to bring this to my attention, she said because he started reaching out to her again, specifically for Valentine's Day. As you can see here, he started ramping up the texting again as Valentine's Day approached.
By the way, I'd just like to say, or show you guys, it's rainy, it's dark, so this is the perfect time to be watching this shit. It's a dark, rainy, foggy,
She continued to just
spooky
ignore
night.
it and let the texts pile up, but he brought it to the next level when he left a box of Russell Stover chocolates on her doorstep. She knew it was from him because he texted her, "I hope you like the gift I left you." This was when she decided to put an end to it and replied to him a long message which I won't share for her privacy. But in short, she said he needs help and that she's seeing someone now, so to leave her alone. There are a number of ways to get someone's address this day and age, but she was scared that he got it by following her home one day. I did my best to make sure that she knew I wouldn't let him do anything to her. Well, fast forward maybe a few days, and Nikki sent me a concerning screenshot. It was a screenshot of some text from a fake number, asking if the guy she was seeing was me. Me as in, he wrote my name. Now I felt involved, and that made me feel moderately uncomfortable. To this point, all I've heard of this guy was that he was a very creepy and overly persistent texter, and potentially followed the girl I'm seeing home to her house. And now he's texting her on fake numbers, bringing up my name.
There's
It was
always
reaching
a
the point where
solution.
Nikki was close to calling the police if this didn't stop. I told her I'd go to the police station with her if he reached out one more time. Fast forward to Valentine's Day. It was on a Friday this year. Nikki and I went out to eat at a nice restaurant that sat on the water. We were at an outside table because the weather was nice. As we ate, we both took notice to a guy sitting on a bench outside of the dining area by the parking lot with a hat.
If you guys remember my old Mr. Nightmare reactions, you'll know that that is my one answer to anything these people have to say. You know, any issue they're having, there's always a very, very simple solution, and it's always the same solution. Just it's so fucking easy. I mean, like, just it's a permanent solution, might I add. So it's like double perfect.
We pulled down his face as if he were hiding. Nikki made a joke, "What if that's Ben?" We laughed, but then he slightly tilted his head in our direction as we were looking at him, and then he quickly looked away, and seconds later he got up and walked away. We weren't laughing anymore. Now we actually questioned the chances of that actually being him. But after a few minutes, the conversation shifted to something else, and we enjoyed the rest of our time there. Afterwards, we wanted to keep hanging out. It was Valentine's Day after all, but her parents were home. I had the place to myself, so we went together back to my rental house. We were on the couch, and things were getting a bit more intimate. That's when Nikki pulled away from me and said, "What was that?"
You can still hang out when her parents are home, just like be in your room or whatever. You know? Like, you don't bother them, they won't have a problem, you know? Like, realistically. And if they do, I mean, you have fucking horrible parents. Seems you're grown-ass
I heard it
adults, you
too.
should be doing what you want.
Something from outside in the backyard. "Want me to go check?" I asked. She nodded her head. I went out to the backyard patio, expecting to hear some animals scurrying off.
I still don't have tissues in here. That's gonna be an issue.
And walked around the yard, looking around for anything that could have fallen over, and I found what made the noise. The entire stack of beach chairs that was leaning on the house had been knocked over. I don't know how that would happen unless someone or something bumped into them. There wasn't even the slightest breeze that night. I looked around at the bushes that encompassed our yard, and then, as if my brain immediately could spot something out of place, I locked in my vision on something tall in the bushes. My neck jutted forward as I literally tried to focus in and get a better look at what I was looking at.
Yeah, it's probably a
I
fucking
stepped forward a
person,
few steps.
you know?
I had an oh shit moment.
Shoot
I
it.
realized it was someone standing in the bushes.
Yeah, shoot him.
He had seen me notice him by this point. I said, "Who is that?" The guy started quickly coming out from the bushes.
Shoot
At
him.
a quick enough speed that I took it as a threat, as if he were about to charge at me.
Shoot him.
I took the chance to get him on the ground when he was still struggling.
Why
with the
didn't
bushes
you
and
just
twigs.
fucking
I
shoot
yelled
him?
at him to stay down.
My
multiple times.
God. Put
I
a
yelled to
bullet
keep
in his
him until
face.
she came
Holy
outside.
shit.
I said,
Solution.
"Call the police." The guy on the ground
Fucking kill the
struggled and
guy.
tried to get loose a
My
few times.
God.
But I more or less
These
had
people
him
are
steady
fucking
hold.
autistic. A scary, angry man charging at me, you know, clearly he wants to do me harm. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna fucking tackle him. No, fucking shoot the guy. Blow his arm off.
When Nikki came
A
outside,
410
while
shot,
talking to the police,
410
I asked
shotgun
her
will
if this
do a
was the
lot
guy.
of damage at close
She
range.
gasped and said, "Oh my God,
Remove
yes."
his arm.
It was the Ben guy who had been harassing her. What's worse is at that moment, I realized he was wearing the same colored shirt that guy with the cap from earlier at the restaurant was wearing. Police got to the house and put him in cuffs. He would be charged with trespassing. And taking advantage of the moment, Nikki showed the officers all of the harassing and obsessive messages she'd been receiving from him. Since he was already being arrested, Nikki pressed charges for stalking and harassment, which the guy ultimately ended up paying a fine for and getting a misdemeanor.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't pay a fucking fine for stalking. That's not a thing. That's not a fucking thing. Whatever fantasy bullshit world you're living in where you're trying to act like, oh, the justice system fucked me because, you know, they only gave him a fine. No, the fuck they didn't. No, the fuck they did not. That didn't happen.
Nikki got an order
That's a
of protection
fucking
against
lie.
him, and now if he ever contacts her again, he'll be arrested again. Ben was the ultimate creep. Thank God he's at least halfway smart enough to not have contacted her again, though.
You know, a restraining order can't actually do anything, right? Like, a restraining order legally doesn't stop anyone from doing anything. I have one of those. It doesn't do anything. All it does is say that if they come near you, you can sue them. It doesn't, like, it's not one of those, like, if they come near me, they'll get arrested things. No, if they come near you, you can either sue them or maybe press charges. But they won't just get arrested just for being near you. It doesn't work. Because if that's how that worked, she would be in jail right now. The person I have a restraining order against. So, it doesn't work like that. You can't just file a restraining order and think that it'll make it so they'll arrest them if they contact
My
you.
boyfriend and I had planned a cute dinner, like what
It
most
just
couples
makes it
do.
easier to compile
As we
evidence.
were
That's all it
walking
does.
into the restaurant, there's this couple outside, weirdly staring at my boyfriend and I.
It's a way to show that they still had intent to harass you, even if you had a legal agreement with them that they wouldn't. It just shows that they're willing to break the law to harass you. That's the only purpose of the restraining order. They don't work.
Back to his car. The lady from the couple stood up and held up her hand, introducing herself as Mrs. Gretty. I found it really weird and looked at my boyfriend. The lady still had her hand out. I wasn't trying to be rude. I gave her a shake. The lady went on to explain that her and her husband think we're a great-looking couple, and they're photographers and think we would make great photos, and to follow
They're
them to
not
the studio,
photographers.
she believes the wait time will be long. She goes on to say that she has no car.
I'm gonna make a guess. They're gonna try to play some crazy serial killer couple tried to lure us to their photography shed so they could murder us. This is gonna be horrible. If they wanted to kill you, they would just kill you. This doesn't happen.
Hard on her.
People look at like
a 5-minute drive
people
away.
look at killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and like Ted Bundy, and they think like that's how all these serial killers are. More likely than not, if you get killed by a serial killer, they're just gonna break into your house and shoot you and then leave. That's usually what happens.
And
Only
I can
real
take us there as
solution
well.
is lock your
Red
doors
flags are going off.
and keep a
My
gun.
boyfriend politely declines and lets her know we have things to do.
They're gonna try to
Was
play
still
some
one of the
stupid
most
serial
haunting
killer
looks
thing.
ever, as she smiled and sat down next to the husband. As we get in the car, I tell my boyfriend how creepy that interaction was, and how the husband didn't even say a word. As we
I
enter the
bet you
minicut-
what they're gonna do is they're gonna try to pull some like serial killer couple that murders other couples. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing. Like and if it does happen, it wouldn't happen this way. They don't just try to lure you to their fucking shed or whatever. Realistically, they would like follow you home or something. This isn't. If you're gonna write a fucking horror story and put it on the internet, at least have it be somewhat realistic and good.
We were pretty surprised to find it
Especially with a channel that's like
We laughed the
6 million
situation off.
subscribers.
In reality, I'm still creeped out. As this place is not really huge, you can see the front door on all the levels. So as we're on our 5th round, I hear the entrance bell ring. I turn to look, and my heart sinks. It's the same lady with her husband. She seems to look around, and then as we make eye contact, she gives me the creepiest smile. I let
No,
my boyfriend
she didn't.
know.
That didn't
He turns
happen.
to look as they're getting their things. I tell my boyfriend I'm uncomfortable and we should just go wait in the car. As
Maybe you
15
should
minutes
have a
have passed
gun.
Already, so it wouldn't be much longer.
You know,
He
if you have a
agrees,
gun,
and
you
we
wouldn't
turn
feel the
around,
need to
and
leave.
they're right behind us, giving us the widest smiles.
Solution.
Crazy how we both came to this spot, said Mrs. Gretty.
Yep,
This time the
That
husband
didn't happen.
says, we should face each other, Gretty versus Rod.
that didn't
My
happen.
boyfriend's heart sank
That
in
didn't
moment,
happen.
As his last name is Rods.
That
He
didn't.
politely declined. Not
That didn't happen. That didn't happen. That's fucking stupid. That didn't fucking happen.
wanting to
you.
know how they knew that information. And we said we have to go. Both of their smiles faded as we rushed out of there. I told my boyfriend we should just call it a night and go back to his place since it was closer than mine. Plus, my parents wouldn't be home until Sunday morning. He said we would go after dinner and not let some random weird couple ruin the night for us. We waited about 15 minutes in his car, talking about how weird the situation was, as he gets a text from the restaurant saying they're ready for us.
Maybe
We eat dinner.
If you had a
He insists
gun,
on paying today since it's Valentine's Day.
you wouldn't have
so
this
we usually
problem.
split the bill. He goes to the bathroom, and as I'm waiting, I thought I saw that lady peeking out from around a corner. I convinced myself it was just in my head.
So the solution to that one is a bigger gun
Now to
with
get
a
to his
scope.
place, you have to take this long road surrounded by trees.
PCC or
As we
something.
start the drive, we notice a car following
Like a
behind
folding
us. I
PCC.
let my husband know.
Just carry it
We
in
head
your
into a
bag.
CVS parking lot. I
A
have to
little,
use
like,
the restroom.
2
Since it was
times,
going to be a drive, we both
maybe
get out
3
and
times
go.
scope.
When we
Like
come
a
out,
little,
we don't see
like,
that car that was potentially
one that you'd
following
stick
us
on like a
anywhere.
22 or
So we make
whatever.
our way to his house. You know that road I talked
Problem
about earlier,
solved.
being surrounded by trees?
You got yourself a little
Well, while we're driving
little
on it,
self-defense,
like 3 to 5 minutes onto this
long
road,
distance,
we heard a loud pop.
long distance.
My boyfriend stopped
Carbine.
his car. His 2 front tires had popped. He put two and two together.
As
and
long
ran to the car and
distance as
said,
a
"Get out.
9
There's not much
millimeter
more
or
time
whatever
before
it
they
could
get
be.
here." He cut his engine and turned off the lights and locked the door. I was so scared and confused, not knowing what was going on. I told him we should wait in the car. He quickly got me and we ran into the woods. He told me to shush.
No,
We were
no,
hiding
she's
behind some
right.
trees
You
and
should wait in the
bushes.
car.
While we hid, he called the
You
cops.
should wait in
and
your
quickly
car.
explained where we were at and what was happening. The operator asked to stay on the line.
I'd like to
Cops would
point
be
out that a car is just a very, very, very large bullet. Run them over. Whoa!
here in a couple minutes. He said he couldn't stay on the line and hung up. As we stayed laying down, we heard a car engine coming up. My boyfriend said to lay flat as he did too. We heard the engine to the car stop, and we heard the familiar voice of Mrs. Gretty, if that was even her real name. She yelled, "Shit, we took too long."
So, like,
We heard a car door close, and then a car quickly speed.
when they get out of the car, what you could have done is you could have just stayed in your car. And then when they get out of their car, you just run them over. Problem solved.
feet away. We stayed
Fucking-
down until the cops got there, which was about 2
They're just
minutes
scared
later.
to catch a
We
body.
explained the situation.
That's
I
all
told
it
them we
is.
would be contacted
They're
if
just
something came up.
losers. They're
I
like,
called my sister to come pick
oh,
us
well,
up.
even if
He
it's
called the tow
self-defense,
truck for his
even if
car.
these people are
4 years
clearly
later,
trying to
nothing's
kill
come
me,
up on it.
you know, I
And we never found
couldn't.
out what
I
they
couldn't.
wanted or who they were. We're
Pussies.
now married with a crazy story to tell our kids.
Yeah, you'd have a cooler story if your story wasn't, I ran away like a little bitch. I had a 2-ton car that I could have solved the problem with. Against, might I add, fucking elderly people by the way they're talking. So, like, even easier. I mean, if you can't fight an elderly person and win, you're fucked. I mean, everyone knows that most ghosts are old people, you know?
During the fall 2018 semester, I was doing some online classes through a pretty prestigious college, but I knew that I would transfer to my hometown 4-year university for the winter semester. I still wanted to make some new friends though, so that I wouldn't feel alone, and maybe along the way.
Why would
I
you do
meet
that?
Someone to date, which is what happened.
Why would you do
I met this
that?
girl through
If you're out
Tinder.
of college
She was really cool, and we had
and
a
you're
lot
like
in
almost
common.
done with the
Long
college, why
story
would you
short,
transfer?
We started dating. And
Just
we had a lot of
finish.
fun together.
Like,
She wasn't
just
from my
fucking-
hometown, and I had noticed that after she came back from Thanksgiving break, the way she behaved and her attitude had changed. She was always on the more sarcastic side, but now it just seemed mean. For example, the playful, flirtatious teasing had become way more aggressive. There was no physical harm, I should say that. It was just the kind of teasing that shouldn't be happening in a relationship. I just brushed it off as stress due to finals approaching.
it sounds like
She
you're
eventually went back
just a
home for winter
bitch.
break. We always found ways to stay in touch every day.
She's
such
like,
as
God,
text,
you're
Snap,
so
and
short.
occasional FaceTime,
Fucking,
even
no,
once or
my
twice a week.
fragile
Once the
ego.
winter semester started,
She's
I moved
being
into an
mean.
apartment because the dorms
She
didn't
called
seem
me
that fun,
short.
and I had found something nice
No.
that was surprisingly cheap. Literally the night of the first day of classes,
idiot.
we decided to break up.
Pussy.
Like I said, she was from a different state, and she was having a lot of trouble being away from home because she missed her family, friends, and pets a lot.
Pussy.
Besides me and her roommate, who she didn't really get along with, she barely knew anybody in town. She was just such a shy person.
Well,
And that's not a
sounds
bad
like you
thing.
should just
Like I
deal
said,
with it.
she
Change
didn't
is
have
an
a lot of friends to surround herself
inevitable
with,
part of
so
life.
she just wanted to be by herself
Just
all the
fucking
time.
deal with
So
it.
it was a nice exit out without having to be the one that did the dumping, because that kind of stuff just gives me too much stress and anxiety. A few weeks went by.
Don't
and each
move if
day
you
I
can't
felt
handle
a little
it.
less sad, because when I looked back on the relationship, there were a bunch of issues that I had overlooked. It was the week leading up to Valentine's Day, and I was kind of sad because I had some fun things planned that I wanted to.
Is this whole fucking story just him complaining about his fucking girlfriend? That's not a horror story. Your shitty relationship isn't a horror story. Everyone's had a shitty relationship. I've had like 15.
Surprise my girlfriend with.
It's not
I
a
decided
joke.
that maybe for
They've
that
all
week,
sucked.
I would reactivate my Tinder account, really to see if I could get a match and possibly hang out with someone on the holidays so I wouldn't be alone, because most of my friends had their own boyfriends and girlfriends. I did about 2 days before the holiday. and I got some matches after a few hours of having the app. I chatted with most of them and asked what their Valentine's Day plans were. And not to my surprise, they were all going out to bars. Personally, that lifestyle isn't really my thing. It just doesn't seem
Pussy.
that fun to me. But I always use it as a last resort, and I wasn't
I'm
that
not gonna
desperate
pause it, but
yet.
pussy.
I eventually started texting with a girl named Alex, who wasn't into that stuff either. She would rather stay in and watch movies, which is what I would rather be doing
Pussy.
too. She even had the same major as one of my best friends, and was taking some of the classes he was taking. But she didn't know if they had classes at the same time, since they had just started, and she was trying to figure out everyone's names. The best way to describe
She's a
Alex is that
man.
she had shoulder-length blonde hair, cute glasses,
Yeah,
freckles, and
she's
bright
a
blue
man, I
eyes.
told you.
After texting for about an hour, I got her Snapchat and we moved the conversation there. I asked if she would want to hang out on Valentine's Day.
After text after texting, texting on the messages app, you moved to Snapchat. Why? Why are you fucking 12? Are you fucking 12? Why are you on Snapchat? I'm sorry, I'm really high. When I get high, I get
So it was
angry.
Valentine's Day 2018, which had fallen on the Thursday of the week. Luckily, I didn't have any Friday classes, and Alex said she would skip her Friday morning class so we wouldn't feel pressured to end the night so early. The first part of the night went pretty smooth. We got some McDonald's, saw a movie, and then walked around the downtown area for a while. To spare you the details, we eventually went back to my apartment and had sex. And to be honest,
Pussy.
everything went great. She asked if she could spend the night
Pussy,
because it was snowing
simp.
out, and her place was about a 10-minute walk away. So of course I told her she could stay. We eventually fell
You should have
asleep
got
early,
home
but
and then kicked her out.
I'm a pretty light sleeper, especially when there's someone else in the bed with me. Around 3 a.m., Alex woke me up as she was getting out of the bed, but I didn't make her aware that she woke me up. It was pretty dark in the room.
She robbed him. I bet you that's what's gonna happen.
But I could see that she was walking towards the bathroom. She turned the light on and shut the door so that it wouldn't seep into the bedroom. I was very tired, so I just went back to sleep. I awoke again around 5:30 a.m., and to my surprise, Alex wasn't in the bed next to me.
Told you.
I turned to see if she was still in the
I
bathroom.
told you.
But I couldn't see the outline of the light, so that meant it was turned off.
She robbed
I
him.
wasn't in too much of a shock yet. I was just curious as to where she
Or
was.
she's gonna kill him.
So I sat up and grabbed my phone off my bedside
And your
table.
gun?
I didn't have any text from her saying that she had left, but I was able to see that the clothes she'd been wearing earlier were still on the ground next to mine. So she was still here somewhere.
Told
I then
ya.
heard a creak come from the other side of the bedroom. I could see that Alex was just standing in the corner, back facing toward me. I was really freaked out. I quietly called out her name and asked if she was okay, but there was no response. I turned on the lamp I had on the bedside table. It didn't create too much light, but there was enough. I got out of bed and walked over to her. She was just standing there, not even...
What's that? What's that? It's like kind of like a form of dementia, I think. But it's only at night. Sundowning syndrome, right? Yeah. Yeah, sundown syndrome. It's basically like a form of dementia where, like, when the sun goes down or, like, at a certain time, usually at night, you, like, just forget everything and get really confused. And sometimes they get, like, violent or dangerous.
moving. I was so creeped out, but I wanted to see what
Or
was
she's
going on.
sleepwalking.
I
That's
gently
also
placed
a
my hand on her
solution.
shoulder and said her name again, and there was no response. There were 10 seconds of silence.
And then she turned around
right as
and
I
it
was about
wasn't
to say
her.
name one more time,
It was my
she
Uncle
turned around
Derek.
at an inhuman speed and started screaming like a maniac and hitting me.
Yeah, it's
It
Derek.
wasn't the hardest of hitting, but I'm kind of a skinny guy, so it hurt a bit. The
Nah,
scariest
this
part is there was no
sundowning
emotion
syndrome.
on her face at all. I backed up and fell over onto my bed, and she followed me, still screaming and hitting me. After about 30 seconds of this happening, she ran over to her clothes, grabbed them, and ran out of my apartment.
That's
I got
sundown
off the bed
syndrome.
and ran to my front door, which was left wide open.
That's
She was
gotta be.
gone. I shut it and locked it. I then noticed there was a horrible smell coming from the bathroom. The door was shut, and when I opened it, the horrible stench came out. I turned on the light and found the room in a mess. The shower curtain was ripped off. My medicine bag had been thrown on the ground.
And she
my
had
floor was
shit all
wet.
over the
The
walls.
worst part was that she defecated and smeared it on the mirror.
I told you,
I
she
called
shit on
police
the walls.
immediately, and they sent
What
an
was
officer
that?
to my place. They asked if they could see her Tinder and Snapchat profile, but of course, both had been deleted. I only had...
There was like a weird shadow outside my car. I don't know if you saw that. But like something, it looked like something ran. Like across the side of my car. What the fuck was that? I really like having my windows intact. Please don't make me blow them out. Next stories. Because that was shitty. Hey, he said re-uploading is bad. Go fuck yourself, Mr. Nightmare. I'll react to your shit as much as I want. I can do whatever the fuck
This
I
happened a
want.
few months ago. I've been driving for Lyft for a few
Fight
years
me.
now, and I usually stick to late night shifts. The roads are quieter and the tips are better.
Fight me,
But there is
Mr.
a
Nightmare.
trade-off.
I want to challenge.
Every
I want
once
to
in a
do like
while,
those
you get a
YouTuber
story that
boxing
sticks with
events.
you, and not in a good way.
I want to
I'd
go
always thought of
fight
myself as careful.
people.
I've
Like
dealt with
fight
my fair share of
YouTubers.
odd passengers, but nothing.
I want to go.
mean nothing.
I want to fight Jake Paul. Like, I bet he could beat me in a fight. But, like, I wouldn't, like, fight. I would just, like, beat the shit out of him with a brick or something. For YouTube's sake, that's a joke. Yeah. My head really hurts.
Even came close to being as
I should
strange
stop
as what I'm about
smoking.
to tell you. I didn't have a dash cam at the time, and that night was the main reason I installed one.
I'm
It
gonna
started
lay
off
back,
normal
too.
enough, just me and the odd sounds my car would occasionally make. I've got this beat-up 2005 Volvo, but it's reliable as hell. The streets were quite literally deserted, which, like I said earlier, I preferred. Sometime after 2 p.m., I got a request from a convenience store nearby. Seemed harmless at first, but for some reason, I got this weird feeling in my gut about it. You ever get that feeling like something's off, but you can't explain why? That's exactly what hit me as I
Was it
drove
in the
up.
hood? You're just
Before I even
afraid?
saw the guy, I figured out why I was getting that gut feeling. The convenience store I was pulling up to was closed. All the lights were off, and there was not a single car in the lot. As I pulled closer, I saw him. I made sure to drive pretty slowly so I could get a good look at him. He was pacing outside the store, wearing this ratty hoodie that
Oh,
looks
he
like it hadn't seen a washing
Just
machine
robbed
in
it.
years.
He clearly
I'm
just
not
robbed
kidding
the
about
place.
that.
Who cares?
There was literally a hole in the sleeve.
There was literally, oh my god, there was a hole in the sleeve. There was a hole in the sleeve. Whoa, big deal. Big deal. That's gonna be important later. It's a fucking hole. I don't own a single piece of clothing that doesn't have a hole in it. Fucking cry about it, pussy. People can wear what they want to wear.
Still, he kept glancing over his shoulder like he thought someone was after him. If I had
Someone's
to guess,
probably after
he was
him.
on something. I probably should have
someone's
just
after
canceled the
him.
ride and driven away. I even hovered my finger over the cancel button.
You
but
don't
I
know the
didn't
guy.
for whatever reason. I
He
unlocked the
clearly
doors,
needs
and
help.
He slid into the back seat without a word.
Yeah.
I
He
regretted
just
my
robbed the
decision
place.
moment
Get him
I
out
took
of
my
there.
foot off the
Cops
brake.
are on the way.
Most people either scroll on their phones or stare out the window, but not him.
Maybe he
He
doesn't
just
have a
sat
phone.
there, staring at me through the rearview mirror, not blinking, not looking away, just staring directly at me.
He
I
doesn't
tried
have a
not to
phone.
stare back, but I couldn't help but
Maybe
catch his
he's
eye a
homeless.
couple of times.
What?
He
Nah,
looks
how
kind
would
of
he call the
angry,
Uber?
which was also pretty unsettling. I tried to ignore him and turned on the radio to break the silence.
Well, maybe his phone's dead.
I don't even remember which station I clicked on, but the moment the music started playing, he snapped at me to turn it off. His voice was deep and a little raspy,
Yeah, he
and I
just
could tell
likes
he
the
was
quiet.
a smoker right away.
There's
That
nothing wrong
kind of
with
caught me
that.
off guard, and I jerked the steering wheel a little bit.
Nothing wrong with
I resisted
smoking.
the urge to look at him in the mirror and just did as
probably
he said,
die.
gripping the wheel a little tighter.
Like 5
I
years
didn't
sooner.
say anything, and we
but-
drove in silence for a while. I thought maybe he'd just sit there
I mean,
quietly
who
until
wants
he got
to be
his
like
stop.
95 anyway?
That's what I was hoping for, at least. But then he spoke. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. He asked me if I ever picked up someone I shouldn't have. That question hit me like a brick. I let out this awkward laugh and said, well, I hope not. I was trying to...
This one time, I was like stupid, and I was like, I'm gonna go pick up this girl I've been talking to. Anyway, moral of the story. Oh God, I keep hearing weird noises in my head. Moral of the story. Relationships are overrated, and if she ever wants a ride home, don't pick her up, because she's probably just gonna bitch at you about, oh, well, I'm sorry for fucking, needing a ride, but my friends were being annoying, and I just had to get out of here. Let me tell you why my friends are so annoying. I don't care. Anyway. But that's when I found out, I'm not gonna give away too much of other people's information.
He didn't react. He just leaned back and muttered something to himself that I couldn't hear.
But I keep hearing weird noises in my head.
How he used to be an Uber driver, and he
Like,
quit because some punk stole some stuff from his car. He was slurring his words.
Cause when I smoke, my head starts hurting, so now it's weird. And all the popping noises that my body makes, all my joints and shit, are just fucking weird.
Words a bit, so I couldn't make out everything he said, but I got the gist of the story for the most part. I looked in the mirror once or twice while he was telling me the story, and I realized he was smiling the whole time, which was incredibly unsettling.
He likes telling the story.
A normal person wouldn't smile talking about something like that. He concluded his story by saying, "It's funny how much trust you put in someone sitting right behind you." That comment was what did it for me.
And then he pulled out a 17-inch knife and stabbed you straight through the seat. There we go. I ended the story the way it was supposed to end. And now I'm ending the stream. Because my head hurts. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to... What was that? Anyway, if you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe and fucking go fuck yourself or something. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Fuck you.